In total, we had 3 homicides. 2016, 1, and 2015, we had 6. As far as traffic fatalities, there were 3 traffic fatalities in the region and 1 life-threatening motor vehicle collision during April of 2018. And so our year-to-date statistics for 2018, we've had 6 fatal collisions thus far this year. That compares to, for the entire year of 2017, we had 18 fatal collisions. And we've had 5 life-threatening collisions so far in 2018 compared to 8 for the entire year of 2017. Just a little bit about those fatal collisions. So on Thursday, April the 5th, 2018, at approximately 10:15 p.m., we responded to reports of a pedestrian being struck by a motor vehicle at Southworth Street near Morningstar Avenue in Welland. Initial investigation revealed that a 65-year-old female was crossing Southworth Street and walking westbound, stepped in the path of a motor vehicle. The female pedestrian was struck by a southbound Chevrolet Suburban, which was driven by a 42-year-old Waynfleet male. Unfortunately, the female pedestrian suffered fatal injuries in that collision. On Sunday, April the 8th, 2018, at approximately 2:30 p.m., we responded to a report of a single motor vehicle collision at Cherry Grove Road near Dorchester Road in Niagara Falls. Initial investigation revealed that a pickup truck was being driven westbound on Cherry Grove Road by a 75-year-old Niagara Falls male who suffered a medical event. Driver lost control of his vehicle, left the roadway, struck a large tree. 911 was called. The residents rendered assistance to the male. The driver was pronounced dead at the hospital due to the unfortunate medical event that he suffered. And then on Monday, April 30th, at about 2:30 p.m., we responded to Wellandport Road and Wilford Road in Waynfleet in response to a motorcycle and pickup truck collision. Initial investigation revealed that a Yamaha motorcycle was being driven southbound on Wellandport Road by a 54-year-old male. At the same time, a Ram pickup truck was being driven westbound on Wilford Road by a 28-year-old male. These 2 vehicles collided within the controlled intersection. The rider was thrown from the motorcycle and suffered fatal injuries, and charges are pending in that incident. A few items in the news. Niagara Regional Police Service and Medic Alert Foundation Canada have launched a new service to ensure vulnerable persons in our community, people living with autism, Alzheimer's, dementia, fetal alcohol syndrome disorders, or a cognitive brain injury, receive immediate and focused attention in an emergency. Medical Alert Connect Protect gives police officers 24-hour access to a registered subscriber's photo, identity, past wandering history, and other vital information through their Medical Alert medical IDs. This information will help officers search more efficiently, increasing the chances that anyone in crisis or those who go missing are reunited with their loved ones sooner. Just talk about a recent drug investigation which led to an arrest. So since the beginning of April, members of our Guns, Gangs, and Grow unit, with the assistance of the St. Catharines Street Crime Unit, have been conducting a drug investigation involving a Toronto resident. On Wednesday, May 2nd, police officers followed the male of the investigation and another male to an address on Scott Street, St. Catharines. At approximately 12:05 p.m., members of the Niagara Regional Police Service Tactical Unit conducted a traffic stop to arrest the occupants of the vehicle. The passenger of the vehicle was arrested without incident, as the driver then fled on foot. A foot chase ensued, and he was arrested several meters from the vehicle. As a result of search warrants, we seized $6,000 in cocaine and recovered over $25,000 in cash. Friday, May the 4th, and Saturday, May the 5th, members of our traffic enforcement unit conducted a high visibility traffic enforcement initiative in the rural areas of the Niagara region. During the two-day initiative, the traffic enforcement team stopped nearly 100 motorists and issued 43 provincial offense notices, along with 7 warnings for numerous driving offenses, licensing, equipment, and insurance violations. One driver was stopped for stunting for doing more than twice the posted speed limit of 60 kilometers an hour and was arrested for stunt driving, and his vehicle was seized for 7 days. The second driver was stopped for doing more than 35 kilometers over the speed limit through a rural village, passing a police officer at the time and failing to move to the left for a lane of cyclists that were driving through that area as well. Just want to talk about some new online resources for parents and teens. The Niagara Regional Police Service is committed to continuing education in regards to online safety for the community. As we marked Police Week last week, the theme of celebrating community partnerships, members of the community will now be able to access a new permanent link with the Niagara Regional Police Service website. Officers will have access to business cards that can be handed out primarily within local schools to promote the new web page. The web page and the cards provide a collection of useful resources for parents and teens regarding online safety. The NRPS is proud to partner with the Canadian Centre for Child Protection, or C3P. You may recall there was a report that came to the board maybe 2 months ago about that initiative. CP3 is dedicated to the personal safety of all children. They offer a number of programs, services, and resources for Canadians to help them protect children and reduce their risk of victimization. A recent seatbelt compliance initiative. On Monday, May the 21st, our traffic enforcement unit conducted a seatbelt compliance initiative on Niagara Street and East Main Street in the city of Welland. During the 2-hour initiative, officers checked between 175 and 200 motor vehicles and reminded several cyclists about the rules of the road. Despite the Ontario seatbelt law being in place now for over 42 years, 9 drivers and 1 passenger were cited for not wearing their seatbelts. And just a little update with regards to the new 4-way stop on 4 Mile Creek Road and Line 3 in Niagara and the Lake. On Monday, May 28th, members of the Niagara Regional Police Traffic Enforcement Unit, in cooperation with the 2 district uniform patrol officers, conducted a stop sign compliance initiative at the newly erected 4-way stop on 4 Mile Creek Road and Line 3. During the 5-hour initiative, officers were unable to stop vehicles that were rolling through the stop signs because of the nearly 40 violators who were completely disobeying the newly erected stop signs and drove through the intersection at speeds in excess of the allowable 60-kilometer maximum speed limit. The majority of the violators stopped were local residents, with 2 being from out of town. Officers exercised their discretion and took time to educate drivers, issuing more than 24 provincial offense warnings. A number of drivers were also issued tickets for various other moving violations. So we're hoping that as drivers become more familiar with that intersection, that they'll be more compliant and aware that that is now a 4-way stop. So that's the end of my report.
Okay, thank you. Chief, you have another presentation, tug of war? If you want to do that now?
Sure, I thought you were going to do that. My apologies.
Okay, we'll launch the video then.
Okay.
Just to put this into some framework, I had the privilege of being one of the board members along with Vaughn Stewart for the tug of war, and captured a fair bit of photography and video in that event. And I put together a very short 3.5-minute video just to sort of highlight the excitement of what takes place on the international boundary.
Through Mr. Chair, I can add that, so Sergeant Tony Mummery is here. He's coached the men's tug-of-war team for many years now. His wife, Detective Constable Sarah Mummery, has assisted with the men's team for many years. This year was launched the first year where we had a women's team pull against a women's team from the U.S., and I think this video is going to capture the events that took place about 2 weeks ago on the bridge. It was a fairly windy day, and we thought we might actually lose some of our flag holders over the bridge there. It was quite something.
Sort of more like the Battle of the Pipes, because their side is coming with bagpipes as well.
There is audio playing, just for your information.
Okay, thanks. So watch the flag in the center. It's right on the boundary now. It's coming over to our side. Slowly but surely. Yeah, it's going back. No, it's coming back our way. There's a really good shot here in a second. Hold on, we're losing this one. Nope, we're coming back. Watch, here it comes, here it comes.
Tiger blood, tiger blood, tiger blood. Good job. Good work, good work. Right on, good job. Good work. Good job, boys. Well played, well played. Good job.
So for each of the men's and women's, so it's the best 2 out of 3, and I can say that in both cases it wasn't required. It was 2 straight victories for both the men's and women's. I have Sergeant Tony Mummery and Detective Constable Sarah Mummery are here with their trophies, so
I'd like to bring them forward. That would be great. I look forward to that again in next year. We had windy weather, but actually not too bad. I remember once we had rain. But it was a good event, and I think worthwhile. So our next item is dealing with our Police Service Board bursary recipients. So I would like to call forward the representatives from Niagara College, Brock University, and the students as well, please. Tracy's in. Tracy, there's a center button on the microphone there. If you just push that down, and that'll put you online. Thanks.
Okay. Is that good? Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for having us here today. My name is Tracy Jeffroy, and I'm with the Office of Development and Donor Relations at Brock University. On behalf of Niagara College and Brock University, I'd just like to thank the Niagara Regional Police Service Board for establishing awards at our institutions to support student bursaries. Today I'm honored to introduce the recipients of this year's bursaries. I have one from Niagara College and one from Brock University here. Firstly, I'm going to introduce Taylor Welsh. Taylor has completed her year at Niagara College with honors standing. She is enrolled in the Police Foundation's Advanced Standing Brock University Collaborative Program and will be working this summer as a Provincial Offenses Officer for the Niagara Parks Police.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Taylor. I would just like to offer thanks to everyone for having me here today, and I'm really grateful for this award, and that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
We actually have two student recipients from Brock, but unfortunately one of them was not able to attend. Wesley Hilshey asked me to pass on his gratitude to the Niagara Regional Police Services Board for their generous support. Wesley is majoring in political science with a collaboration in policing and criminal justice studies. He currently works at General Motors as a security officer and looks forward to working in a career in law enforcement. And the reason why he's not here is actually because he got called into work, so it's dedication. At this time, I'd like to introduce Pierre Spagnolo. Pierre is in the Collaborative Policing and Criminal Justice program at Brock University. Ultimately, his career goal is to be a police officer.
Good morning, Niagara Regional Police Services Board. My name is Pierre Spagnolo, and I'm excited to be here today. I would like to take the opportunity to thank you for awarding me with this bursary. I'm truly honored and grateful to have been selected amongst many worthy candidates. Next week, I actually graduate from my program, one that I thoroughly enjoyed. I'm looking forward to pursuing my dream of a policing career. So, thank you very much.
I have Inspector Mead, who's in charge of our recruiting unit here, and make sure that he has a conversation with you.
Thank you. I want to get a group photo, maybe right up, and a round of applause, of course. We're just going to grab a shot of everybody by the flag here again. They're also going on a tour, correct? Somebody will take them on a tour of the building? Okay, thank you. So I need a motion to receive that presentation. Moved by Member Caslin, seconded by Member Stewart. All in favor? Thank you very much. Next item is number 86, Community Engagement Initiative, Cops for Cancer. Can I have a mover and seconder to put that on the floor? Moved by Member Bonham, seconded by Member McKendrick. All in favor to put that on the floor? Thank you. Do we have somebody coming in for that?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have Acting Chair. We have the privilege of having Brooke Sherwood with us here today. Brooke is the Senior Annual Giving Manager for the Canadian Cancer Society. She works in British Columbia and has been spending a fair bit of time here working with us as we move towards driving out this significant initiative. So it's my pleasure to introduce Brooke.
Thank you. Good morning, and don't forget.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Brooke. I'm with the Canadian Cancer Society. Thank you very much for having me here today. So we're just looking at the technical difficulties. I got a couple of videos I was hoping to show you that are better with sound, but we'll make do with what we can. So thank you very much for having me. As DC40 said, and the chief has been very supportive, we are very, very excited to talk to you today about the Cops for Cancer program. Cops for Cancer has been a 21-year initiative in British Columbia and has been a very massive part of supporting the work we do with pediatric cancer, both with research and with support programs. So I wanted to show you just a couple of quick videos today that I think would help demonstrate what this program is about, and then I can talk about how excited we are to work with the Niagara Regional Police Service to bring this here this year to this community.
That's how you do it.
We are so pumped! Wow!
So they get a little crazy sometimes when they're out there with the kids, and they have a wonderful time. So that was just a quick video showing you what the tour looks like. So it is a cycling tour. The tours range from anywhere from 4 days to 14 days and are only available for participation by first responders. And why? Because they are deeply and passionately committed to finding a cure for childhood cancer and for supporting those children and families on a cancer journey. And I'll get into how that all started in a second. This video here that I'll show you will be able to tell you a little bit more about how the tour actually engages with the community.
This fall, like every fall, a team of cops and paramedics will ride through our communities. They'll visit us at our schools and at our businesses. They'll speak at our events and spend time with our kids, and they'll do it all to help children with cancer. For almost 2 weeks, they'll travel over 1,000 kilometers on challenging terrain and through unpredictable weather in the Canadian Cancer Society's Cops for Cancer tours. And when they ride through our community, we'll be there to cheer them on. We'll shave our heads, host events, and do almost anything to raise money, help spread the message, and show support for our local cancer survivors and fighters. Then we'll feed them, thank them for their hard work, and send them on their way to the next community. And the money we raise together will go to important childhood cancer research and amazing support programs like Camp Good Times. This year, we'll show the Cops for Cancer that we appreciate what they're doing and let them know the enormous difference they make in the lives of children fighting cancer.
You're doing a great thing.
Join your community to fight back against childhood cancers by supporting a rider, hosting an event, or making a donation. Fundraising events can start now, so get planning. Visit copsforcancerbc.ca to learn more.
So that was obviously a video from BC. The tour we're talking about in Niagara this year will not be going 1,000 kilometers, but you never know what the future will hold. So the tours are very, very special. In BC, they have managed to raise over $42 million since they started 21 years ago. They are the single largest funder of pediatric cancer research the Canadian Cancer Society has nationally. It's because of this success that we have, and with our relationship with the chief and with DC40, that we were able to talk about bringing this here. It's not just about the fundraising, it's about the way that police interact with the community, the positive policing experience that these young people have right from a very young age, and as well as the many communities and businesses that they get to visit as well. So, as I spoke a little bit about, 23 years ago, there was a sergeant with the Edmonton Police Service, and the spirit of these tours started when he saw a boy named Lyle who was being bullied because he was bald. He was bald because he was going through chemotherapy, and that police officer didn't think that was such a great thing. And from there, he took some of his fellow officers, and they all shaved their heads in a sign of solidarity for what Lyle was going through, and then they went to his school with him, so that his peers could see that he wasn't alone. And it was from that moment that they started a little bit of a fundraising event that was head shaving. So head shaving is actually a very popular part of Cops for Cancer in BC. We'll see if it goes through here in the Niagara region. We hope it does. And they started shaving heads and raising money that way. One of the officers that worked with Sergeant Gary Goulet actually transferred to Vancouver Island. And when he transferred there, he had a crazy idea of taking this Cops for Cancer idea, raising money for children who needed it and their families, and riding in the entire Vancouver Island. And they did it, and in that first year, they raised over $380,000. And the rest is history. Since then, there have been other tours that have popped up in BC, and we are now hoping across the country. $46 million has been raised in Cops for Cancer initiatives as a whole, including $4 million here in Ontario, using mostly the head shave model. As I said, the pediatric cancer research support that we get from this program is the largest the society receives nationally. It is a game changer. Pediatric cancer survivor rates have improved over 23% since this program started. That obviously includes efforts nationally across the country from various different groups, including government, but this has contributed immensely and has saved lives. It's also a very low cost to raise $1 because of the support that we get from the communities, from the sponsors, and from the low participation being a good thing for the first time ever. This is an exclusive event. So unlike what you may see with large-scale community cycling events, instead of the general population, or general public participating on their bikes, they actually participate by supporting the tour. And that's where we go around to visit different businesses and schools, as you saw in that other video. So the tour's goals are community engagement, health messaging, anti-bullying messaging, school engagement, and supporting those children and families on a cancer journey. The riders ride for the kids. The riding, which will be about 100 kilometers a day, is really secondary. We know from the Cancer Society that 1 in 2 people will face a cancer diagnosis in their lifetime, and that's why the health messaging that comes along with this tour that's provided as a service to the schools in partnership with the Cancer Society is so critical. At the Cancer Society, we can't get out and do these things on our own. We need help, and that's where we've seen such tremendous benefit from the first responder community as well as ourselves to be able to get in touch with the public, especially with these young people, to have positive police messaging, but also positive health messaging, and to speak about anti-bullying behavior. So Cops for Cancer goes into schools and provides that messaging, and then after that, they have a wonderful little, usually 15-minute to 30-minute assembly. Sometimes there's a motorcycle that will ride through a gymnasium, which is the delight of many young children that are around. The riders go in and do a presentation, then we usually roll in every year after that, and it becomes a favorite every year for the schools that are able to participate. So we've got just a quick video on what the school looks like from an educator standpoint.
They're fantastic for our community. It's special. We've had students and a student fighting cancer, so for them to come and to bring awareness, that's fantastic.
The staff are very excited. They too know that this is a nice build on their lessons as part of our social responsibility and health and career curriculums.
Our school's doing a buyout tomorrow for a football game, and the proceeds are going to go to Cops for Cancer.
We raise the money through a color day, bringing a loonie or toonie if you want to wear color days, and we made it basically in a heartbeat.
Super easy. The kids are very excited.
Really fun and cool. I'm really excited. It's really exciting because they're doing a really good thing. Supposed to eat healthy and you can't eat lots of junk food. Don't smoke. Don't smoke.
I feel really proud to be involved in this.
Do it. It's a great message that is important for all of us.
All of us have been touched by cancer, so for schools that don't get involved, you're missing an opportunity. As they say in the education system, it's a teachable moment, and this is probably the greatest teachable moment I've seen.
So it's important to note that the tour will go to schools whether they fundraise or not. As I said, fundraising is part of why we're doing this. It's obviously a huge driver, but it's also the health messaging. Also, we pay particular attention to schools where children have self-identified as cancer survivors or are currently going through a cancer journey, and the tour pays special attention to them. We're there for them and to stand by them, just like the Lyle story and the Gary story from earlier. And for any other family members or even teachers that are battling or have battled. It's really about that community support. So the ride we're hoping to do is September 18th to 21st this year. We're looking to take on 20 first responder riders with a goal of raising $130,000. And you can see the communities we hope to visit below. We want to start work very quickly as the school year is coming to a rapid close to get as many as we can on board to be able to share this journey with them and to bring this to their school and to have some fun along the way. And you see what the tour jersey will look like. So you can see the community support we discussed. That's so much of what we do. Visiting local Niagara regional community groups, service groups, schools, and businesses is what the tour is all about. And engaging the community in the fight against cancer while spreading positive police messaging gives amazing touch points that the general public and police service would otherwise not have the chance to connect with. The tour's main goal is to fundraise. However, it's our inaugural year. We are and have only normally in BC allowed first responders to participate, but because it's our first year, we wanted to open up some opportunity for some guest riding. And given the role that the police board plays, we wanted to make sure that you had the first right to perhaps consider joining us on this cycling adventure if you're a cyclist yourself. If you don't cycle, the other part that is so beneficial to this program is that the riders will be going into the community leading up to tour because they themselves can't come on tour unless they raise $3,000. On average, the riders raise about $8,000 in BC, and these are people who will tell you to this day are not fundraisers. Even if I ask them, even if they've raised $12,000, they will say they were not fundraisers, but they found a way. And they did it through public-facing fundraising opportunities that also build positive police messaging, fun things like jail and bails, community barbecues, head shaves. The schools get quite into it. As you saw, there was a poor educator duct taped to the side of a wall. Each student got to buy a strip for $1. There's lots of fun ways that both the riders and the community fundraise for this event and participate in this event. We've collected little bags of change from people that had $7 in it, all the way up to checks for $100,000. And it's just about building that community support. So as board members, we want to make sure that you know that you have the opportunity to perhaps be one of our guest riders. We only have 4 spots available for that. If that is of interest to you, we would love to talk to you about it. There is a fundraising component, but it is something that will be an experience you will never forget, I can guarantee you. So to close, I just wanted to highlight that the driver behind what this tour is about is to support cancer research. We do support programs as well for people in the local Niagara region, as well as support programs that all Canadians can access. But the reality is we hope to not have to offer support programs in the future because the research has done its work. So then when someone is diagnosed, they can think to themselves, especially with their children, that, oh, thank God it's nothing serious. That is our goal. We have a long way to go, but it's because of that research that continues to drive those survivor rates up. And I just want to share one last story with you today.
It changes you. You don't look at things the same. Sorry. We had just had his first birthday, and Asen had a really bad cold. And usually with the colds, he's pretty active still. But with that cold, he was just down.
I just had this sick feeling in my gut when Anna told me she was at the hospital with him that I was just like, I looked at a coworker and I said, pretty sure my son has cancer. Asen's pediatrician came in and said, yeah, there's a mass behind his left lung.
When we first walked into oncology and we saw a little boy completely bald and in a wheelchair and he was skinny, and I mean, is our son really that sick, right? That's the first thing that I ever thought.
It took me like the first 2 months of me coming back, leaving Anna and Asen in Vancouver to come back to work, cry like every day.
I can't even think about what could have happened, right? If I would have lost him.
I met Asen right around his first birthday. He was this cute little kid who came in with this tumor that we saw in X-ray.
I sat down with the family and I offered them the opportunity of going on a research study that would look at Asen's genetics and look at whether he carried a high-risk gene or not.
Our research is trying to understand why some patients develop really severe toxicity to their medication, like a chemotherapy, and trying to basically prevent that from happening.
What our test was able to do was to identify in Asen that
not only did he carry one risk gene, he actually carried 2 different risk genes, which placed him in the highest risk for heart failure.
With this research, it potentially saved his life. He could have died if he had that chemo. It was the Wednesday we found out it was cancer. Thursday he got a central line put in. Friday he started his first day of chemo. He woke up and just had a huge smile on his face, like the biggest smile. And we knew that he was going to be okay.
The whole after cancer thing is just like, we try to just let him be his own person and like just try to do as much as you can because you just don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, right? Like anything could happen tomorrow.
Any cold? What if it's cancer again? Any bruise? What if the cancer came back? Just because the treatment ends doesn't mean that the journey ends for him. Hearing loss was like the least of our worries. But at this point, we don't know if there's going to be other side effects years from now. I think I'm a stronger person because of it, and Asen's the strongest.
This type of work wouldn't be possible without the fundraising dollars that come in through the Canadian Cancer Society. For me, taking someone like Asen, yes, I love the fact that he's cured and he's leading this healthy life. What's amazing is that, he's leading it without heart toxicity.
We're really just scratching the surface at the moment with the support of the Canadian Cancer Society. We've been able to show that the findings that we've made in these pediatric cancer patients apply to adult patients as well. So this really expands the scope of the impact of this research.
I imagine a day where every adult or child diagnosed with cancer will be offered a test to identify which medications are the best for them.
This saved my kid's life. Like, I don't think Asen would be here today.
Cancer is not a good word, but after seeing Asen, there is hope.
So that's one of our little junior fighters, Asen, and the research the doctors are talking about in that video was partially funded by Cops for Cancer. So we're very, very proud of the relationship that we have with the first responder community across this country. What makes this opportunity so unique is that this will be the first of its kind in Ontario. And when we look at the results that we've had in BC and we think about the potential and what could happen in the future, we could be at the start of something really big, and Niagara would be our partner in that. And we are very, very grateful to you for considering this initiative. We're grateful to the Chief and to DC40 and all of the members that have worked so hard to bring it to the point to where it is now. On behalf of all the little Asens, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for having me here today. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them now. Thank you.
Member Castle?
Could you tell me a little bit more about the proposed ride, how long, where it would go in Niagara?
Yeah, so we're going to touch on these communities here listed. The ride is 4 days long. We'll travel about 100 kilometers a day, but it's not all in one swoop. We do lots of stops, as you'll see there. So we stop at schools, we stop at businesses, and then we ride. So the day can be between 10 and 12 hours sometimes. Starts early in the morning, but the tour, once they come together on the 18th, they don't leave. So we all check into the same hotel, we all eat together. There's often evening events where different groups will host us for dinner, and there'll be fundraisers, and it really is just kind of a 4-day adventure.
And again, can you tell me where? Is it all within Niagara, or does it go outside Niagara? Like 400 kilometers, that's a long route.
It's kind of up and back and around. We're still firming up what the route is exactly right now. Our goal is to be able to go into all of those communities and also achieve the 100 kilometers a day. So as we're working through this and the schools and different groups come in, that will determine the route, but then we will go up and around and do some riding. I'm not as familiar with the geography, but I have been assured we will hit 100 kilometers a day.
Is there a representative from the force service that knows more?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. In addition to cycling in and around the Niagara region, we also are quite likely to dip into the Stony Creek area. The reason we're looking at that is that the RCMP are partnering with us, and they have a detachment in Stony Creek. One of the things we're also alive to is that many of our riders have children in schools, so we want to try to hit their schools, notwithstanding where they live.
Is there anybody that signed up yet?
I can confirm that Deputy Flynn, myself, Tara, Josie, we have 17 committed riders right now. And particularly interested in the fundraising. One of the things that Brooke didn't mention that I think we'll be considering is waxing, and I know Deputy Flynn's not here today, but I think that might be something we want to encourage. Volunteer.
Are you in? Al, are you?
I've talked to my team and they say I'm in.
You're in.
That's wonderful. We would love, love, love to have you. It's going to be a great time.
Thank you.
Vaughn, you had some history in riding.
I also had some history that's preventing me from riding now, too.
We have lots of community events, so I know the police service is going to be looking for some celebrity folks to maybe jail and do some fun interactive bits when they do their fundraising in the community. So if maybe riding isn't what you're looking for, I know they'll be hoping to get your support in other ways.
Well, I think from your presentation today, which is well received, and the motion we made today, the board is receiving the information, but I think we're also committed to, as we have to a lot of the charity events that we take place, looking at this one very favorable as we move forward, and as you flesh out and create your ride plan and that, I'm sure there will be opportunities for the board and to participate as this goes forward. And when I saw the BC logo on the shirt, I figured there might be some influential member of our service at the senior level that might have participated in this at some point in time in his past career. Am I correct in that?
I can confirm that, you know, like the chief and all of the other senior members here, have engaged in a number of different community engagement initiatives that support different fundraising initiatives, and that this, not to take anything away from any other particular initiative, but this is absolutely life-changing for the people that get involved. And as you know, the chief has asked us to try to engage the community in new ways, and I think this is something that, as Brooke said, it is a game changer. We're in the schools, we're with the community, it's representing the police in a very positive way, and it's helping raise funds for a very significant initiative. So yes, I have participated, and it's really remarkable.
Okay, thank you. We do have a motion, second, do we don't? We had a mover and seconder already. This is an item to be received. Show of hands to receive the item this morning. Thank you very much, and I'm sure various members of the service and the board will be in touch as this goes forward, and please keep us abreast as to the plans and how they eventually flesh out, and so we can participate. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I just might also add that in addition to obviously receiving significant support from the chief, we've received significant support from many of the staff in the service, some of whom are in the room here today, but some of whom aren't, that are up at their desks continuing to do their job. So, you know, while you did acknowledge me, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the significant support from many people, Mandy, Tara, and countless others. So I think I would be remiss if I didn't say that.
Yes, and certainly in all the events that I have attended over the years, the force is a family, and we've always participated as a family, and there's so many of us that do so many deeds within the community, and again, I think it's well reflective on who we are as a Niagara Regional Police Service. So I appreciate that, and all the other members that are out there doing their part. Next on the agenda is the components of the consent piece. It's items number 87 through items number 101. If I could get a mover in block, please, on that. Moved by Member Bonham, seconded by Member Stewart. Open the floor to questions on any of the items. Just let me know what the number is, please. Member Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And firstly, I'd like to look at 88. And through you to the chief, this is the item on Ontario Provincial Police and sort of the number of hours they've attributed to supporting the Niagara Regional Police. So I'm just curious, I understand from this we don't actually pay this bill, it's just sort of how they allot their finances. But I'm just curious of what kind of services they provide to us outside of, like, I don't think that the policing of, say, the provincial highways is really an NRPS function, so I don't think that would be in here. But what types of functions do they provide, more than just the acronyms I see on the list here?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So a number of the hours that are incorporated in that report with regards to fraud and some of the criminal code statute investigations, they would relate to things like the Burgoyne Bridge investigation, things like the NPCA investigation. They have a behavioral sciences unit as well that provides very specialized analysis of crime scenes and suspects that we should be looking at based on geographical profiles and criminal profiles. So there's that type of situation that goes on as well. Some of our interprovincial fraud investigations that, because fraud now is so, much of it is computer generated, and so they have a tendency to spread or spread across the province and spread right across the country for that matter. So they do assist in some of those investigations as well.
So then I can assume this is a lot to do with joint efforts that that occur between the Niagara Regional Police and OPP.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. We do a lot of collaboration with them, whether it's the biker enforcement unit or with drug investigations and organized crime investigations as well. So there's definitely a lot of collaboration, and they're a great partner.
Member Bonham?
Yes, thank you, Chair. And just further to that, just for clarification, are these supports provided as a result of a specific request?
There may be some that are on this list that are not necessarily as a result of a request, but I would think that by and large there would be a request or a result of collaboration through a joint task force or a partnership agreement.
Is there any formalized sign-off with regard to the hours that they have committed to the Niagara Regional jurisdiction over and above what their mandate is with regard to provincial highways? Are we in the business of verifying and certifying that the assigned hours have in fact been consumed with regard to support for the Niagara Regional Police Service?
Through Mr. Chair, we've not been involved in the verification process. This is a piece of correspondence that was forwarded through to us, and so I take it at face value that that those hours have been attributed to the Niagara region.
Okay, thank you. Any other items in the set? Member Stewart?
Yes, thank you, Chair. And through you, item 93. The overtime activities. Looking at Appendix 1, I'm just curious if there seems to be a reason for quite an increase in the first quarter of 2018 in meeting minimums, and I just wondered if there's issues that you may be able to enlighten us on as to why that's occurring now.
So within the first quarter, we're down in our authorized strength considerably. So while there may be additional hours that are incurred in terms of overtime, there are cost savings that are attributed on the personnel costs side of the finances as well. So you recall there was in the budget, we had approval for 8 additional officers as an example, but that didn't occur until final board council approval, I think was mid-January. So again, there's catch-up, and then it's getting those officers hired and getting space at the Ontario Police College, all of those other competing factors that it will eventually catch up. And then there's retirements that are occurring on an ad hoc basis as well.
Now, when we get this report on their hours, these hours are paid out at 1.5 times these hours. Is that correct?
Either paid out or they take it as special bank.
Yeah,
that's
okay.
correct.
Well, I look forward to us being able to catch up on the number of personnel. So look forward to that. Thank you.
I look forward to it as well, and I know we've put a lot of pressure on our recruiting unit to try and identify suitable candidates, whether they're currently serving members or new hires as well. Thanks.
Any other numbers from any members? Any other sections? Member Bonham?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just to follow up to the comments and observations that Member Stewart's made with regard to the overtime quarterly report. As I'm understanding it, from the force report, it doesn't look like we're short. The numbers are, in fact, I think they're in surplus, are they not? Actual 705 and authorized is 706, so it's pretty close. And my understanding is that not all these people of the 705 are up to speed, so that there's some lag in that ability to control contractual minimums based upon your last discussion here, information. My observation or my sort of question is, we have recruit officers in training. We have 8, and there's also an additional 13 pre-hire positions that are budgeted. What's the difference between the two, Chief? Are they not one and the same, that they're not part of the authorized strength, but they're people coming up the stream that will soon be part of that? And I'm just wondering what the distinction is between the two categories.
So through you, Mr. Chair, the 13 additional pre-hires is over and above our authorized strength. So if our authorized strength is 700, we're actually authorized to have 713. And that's a recognition by the board that there is considerable time that it takes to get officers to identify respective candidates, to get them the training that they're required, to put them through coach officer training once they're back from the Ontario Police College, and get them fully deployed out on the road. So with respect to the numbers that you mentioned, when you factor in the pre-hire numbers, we are short on the front line.
Thank you. I'm just wondering what the specific difference is between 13 pre-hire positions and recruit officers in training. Like, there obviously is some difference in staging. I would assume they're both training groups, but what is it that specifically, Chief, distinguishes me as a pre-hire versus me as an officer in training, besides on this piece of paper?
So that category on it, and it is really just on the piece of paper. It is just to track where the people are within the organization. So the pre-hires are I guess over and above the authorized strength. That gets us to the in the example that I gave you, 700 plus 13, 713. But the individuals who are, it's just tracking them where they are in their training progress and where actual bodies are, so they're not necessarily on the front line at that point in time.
So the 8 officers in training and the 13 pre-hires are 2 separate and distinct groups, and as I understand it, and there's basically 21 people making their way upstream towards full duty service. Is that the gist of it?
I'm just trying to get the report that you're referring to. I thought you were on 88.
92.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry.
And sorry, what was the question again?
I'd just like to clarify what my understanding is. Recruit officers in training, obviously not up to speed. They're training towards being full-duty officers. And the 13, the 8 are not part of the 13. And in total, we've got 21 people here at different stages that are training towards being full-duty officers. Is that the message that's on these pages?
That's correct, yes.
Thank you.
I just have one item on the authorized strength, which was item number 92. Can you tell me what group of civilians are in Band 5? There's a shortage there of 9 people.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's primarily a lot of our clerks, our front desk clerks as well, and as you recall, there was the freeze on job postings that occurred as a result of the decision that we made with regards to the front desk. So those are all Band 5 jobs. So once that that process was initiated, all as per the collective agreement, all job postings within that band were frozen. So that's why there's the numbers are that where you see that they are.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other items within the set? Member Bonham?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'd like to look at item number 97. That's the annual report on emergency planning. And my question is, and it's a result of an incident we had, Chief, I think last year, I'm sure it was last year, wherein there was some kind of a truck hung up on a median proximate to Martindale Road in St. Catharines. Pretty general evacuation over a prolonged period of time and traffic shut down. We had some considerable conversation here about what the activities were within the city of St. Catharines and how traffic may or may not have been handled more expeditiously with regard to that specific incident. This report suggests that there's further meetings. I'm just wondering if there's any objective outcomes from that that suggest that the next time a truck is hung up on a median and we're doing a general evacuation, that traffic flow is going to be a much more smooth and coordinated than it was in the past. Thank you.
I don't have any additional information for you at this time, but I can get back to you if with what transpired from those meetings.
I appreciate that. All I'm interested in is that we're getting something objective done besides having meetings. I appreciate that meetings are good things, but there was an incident that we don't have, it's not hypothetical, that we did have some concerns and issues with. We discussed them as a board and a service, and I'm just wondering if there's been any concrete changes to the programs such that the future will be better than the past. Thank you. And if there are, I don't need the specifics. I just like the warmth that, yeah, we're making progress, and that the next time around things are going to be better from the standpoint of the general public that should be, as best possible, uninvolved in that kind of an issue.
So from that perspective, I can give you some warmth and assurance that there have been some meaningful discussions and some meaningful objectives that have arisen from those discussions. And you know, there's multiple partners that were involved in those discussions, and we play a pivotal role in those incidents when they do occur. But there are also multiple partners as well, and we have some assurance that if such an occurrence happens again in the future, that we will be better prepared for it.
Thank you.
Any other board members have any other items within the consent package? I've got one on item number 95. This is the elder abuse report. There's some reference in here. We don't actually have an elder abuse or senior unit. Is that correct within the service?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's correct. We used to at one time, and now it has been amalgamated into the fraud unit, which we felt at the time was a good fit because a lot of the crimes that are perpetrated against the elderly and the vulnerable are fraud-related type of calls, and if they end up being the intake for those types of calls, and if it's something beyond what our fraud unit typically investigates, they have the ability to assign it to one of our criminal investigation branches for further investigation.
Okay, thank you. And I think those are the only items that I had in mind. I need a mover and seconder. Oh, sorry, Member Bonham has a question for another item.
So I just wonder if you're going to open it up to other business in the public before we.
We usually do that at the very end before we close the meeting.
Okay,
we ask for other business.
I don't want that to be forgotten. Thank you.
No, I won't forget it unless there's a specific item related to one of these. No. Okay, we have a mover and seconder. Okay. So show of hands, all in favor? Thank you very much. Next item is number 102, was dealing with the strip search policies, but I believe, the Chief, you covered that off as part of your opening remarks. Do you want to give us a verbal update? I mean, I think you covered that adequately earlier.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm satisfied with the opening remarks that I provided, unless you have any specific questions. The review is ongoing.
Okay, I think we're satisfied as to where that is right now. So we're going, 102 is not in the set. We're going to 103. This is the financial variance overview. I'll ask the Chief if he would, or a member of his staff, to take us through this.
I'll have Director Dita Nato DeCellis can walk you through the report.
So at the end of the first quarter, we had a $75,000 deficit, which is quite reasonable for the first quarter, and we're still planning to be on target for the budget by the end of the year.
Board members' questions? Member Stewart?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And through you, looking at Appendix 1, I'm just curious where I'm looking at the line on uniform overtime, and the 2018 budget is about $3.5 million, and yet the year-to-date budget for a quarter of the year is $537,000. Should it not be like a quarter of that, or are you prorate throughout the year and vary that amount? Just clarification for me.
Yeah, so we take a look at the historical trending, and we have a tendency to have a lower overtime at the first quarter of the year, and it starts to increase during the summer months, and then goes down again in December. So that is one of most of our accounts are straight lined, but that is one of the accounts that we prorate the budget to actually match what's happening during the year, what we expect to happen during the year.
So from the looks of that, following to the next column of the year-to-date actual, we're almost double what we would normally be for that quarter of the year?
That is correct. Again, this was kind of mentioned when we were looking at the overtime activity report. We have shortages at the front line. So as you can see, we're estimating that we're going to be able to cover the overtime shortages with salary savings.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? A motion to receive the report, moved by Member Bonham, seconded by Member Caslin. All in favor? Thank you. Item number 104 is the budget timeline schedule presented to us. Again, Chief, if you'd like your staff to take us through this.
So, I mean, I can walk you through the report. It's essentially we mirror the timetable and schedule that's provided by the region. And so this is really a copy and paste of information our finance unit has been provided by the region with respect to the 2019 budget cycle. So if there's any specific questions with regards to any of the timeframes, we'd be happy to take those questions.
Okay, thank you. Board members? I just have one. The region hasn't set their guideline by yet, have they?
Through you, Mr. Chair, no, they have not. If they have, it hasn't been communicated with us.
Okay. Thank you. This is a motion to receive the report moved by Member Bonham, seconded by Member McKendrick. All in favor? Thank you. This motion to receive. I missed that because I looked at another page. It's actually a three-parter. Just to be clear, the timelines for the completion and preparation of the operating and capital budgets are outlined in here. The preparation of the operating and capital budgets for the police service, utilizing a process that parallels but separate from the region's departments, and 3, to communicate formally with the region with regards to the schedule of budget deliberation meetings and budget preparation approach for the police service and board. So that's what is in the motion. So we had a seconder and mover, and again, just a show of hands on what I just read out. Thank you. Item number 105. Is a special fund request for the Canadian Association of Police Governance. The request is for $1,000 as a donation for bronze level sponsorship. Number 105, it's the CPEG police governance. It's the motion is that the board authorizes a donation of $1,000 from the special fund to the Canadian Association of Police Governance for the support of the 2018 annual general meeting and conference. Member Caslin.
How much is in the special fund, and you know, how much does $1,000 represent?
It's in the report somewhere earlier on, I believe. It was in part of a consent group.
Special fund is
91,000?
No, 91.
Oh, sorry, report number 91. I think it's around 40,000.
Thank you. In managing that fund and managing that money, I see there's another request at the on the public agenda. How much does the fund grow by each year? Average?
So, Chief, the special fund is administrated through the service. If somebody there could tell us how it contributed to?
I'll have Director DiDonato DeCellis provide an update with regards to the special fund.
The special fund, the one that's used to do charitable donations, is funded through found property when it's auctioned off. It varies depending year to year on how much it grows. It could be from 5,000 to 20,000 on average, probably a year. It doesn't grow as much as it used to because we used to be able to do seized property, and there was changes about 5 to 10 years ago where the seized property is done differently. It doesn't grow as much as it used to, but it grows between 5,000 and 20,000 depending on the type of found property we have and what's auctioned off.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just wondering, does it make sense for us to have a budget of spend every year so that we, can manage this, or does that not make sense?
I think in sitting here for the last 6.5 years, I noticed the same items come up. I mean, we donate to CPEG, the Ontario Association of Police Services Board, Ride for Dad, Special Olympics. we could probably going forward put together a list, but we seem to, on an annual basis, are funding the same organizations. If our executive director has some additional comments.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. We do have a bylaw in place that requires them to submit on a one-time basis and not, but we can certainly look at that. It's a board bylaw, so if there were to be some future changes, we could certainly, I could bring back the bylaw and look at making those changes.
Yeah, thank you. And you know, just to your point, people become expecting of that contribution each year, and perhaps if we run short, then we can't make those contributions. So if it's each year, then I just bring it up for everybody's consideration.
Thank you. So the motion before us is to donate the $1,000 to the CPEG organization. Mover and seconder. Member Bonham, seconded by Member Stewart. All in favor? Thank you. That deals with item number 105, 106. This is a complaint process of board members' conduct. The motion before us will be that the board adopt bylaw number 378-2018, and further that the board chair and executive director be authorized to execute the required documents. The report is in front of us. The only thing that I sort of noted in this, and it's taken from the regulation 42197, they still refer to the Ministry of Community Safety and Correctional Services as the Ministry of a Solicitor General on page 5, but I know that's not our wording, so can't change it. A motion to adopt this new bylaw. Any discussion? Mover and seconder. Member Stewart. Member Bonham. Any discussion on the bylaw? Show of hands in favor. Thank you. Item number 107. This is again a board bylaw. It is number 379-218. It is dealing with the use of board resources during an election period. Bylaws in front of you, and further that the board chair and executive director be authorized to execute the required documents. Motion by Member Bonham, seconded by Member McKendrick. Any comments on the new bylaw? Member Bonham.
My only comment is, and my recollection is this is the one we were asked to rush into place at the 99th hour. Thank you.
Same one and the same. Show of hands in favor. Thank you. Item number 108. Bylaw again. Bylaw number 380-218, legal indemnification of auxiliary members. And again, approval of this, and further that the board chair and executive director be authorized to execute the required documentation. A mover and seconder, please. Member Bonham, Member Stewart, any discussion on this? Member Bonham.
Just for clarification, my understanding of this is that this is a result of the change to the Police Services Act, which now brings auxiliary officers under the purview, or their conduct under the purview of the SIU, or the OSIU as it's been renamed, I believe. So this is a request for us to provide the same kind of legal supports for them that we do for the regular officers. That's my understanding of the rationale and what's before us. Thank you.
Yeah, that is correct. Show of hands in favor of the bylaw. Thank you. So the only other one we have is, it was added late, is number 109. It's a special donation request for Niagara Regional Police Association Charity Golf Tournament. The donation is the board is authorizing a donation of $250 from the special fund to the Niagara Regional Police Association to Chip It for Charity Golf Tournament. Mover and seconder. Moved by Member Caslam, seconded by Member Bonham. Any discussion on the item? Show of hands in favor. Matters carried. Any new business? Member Bonham.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Not that I want to end the public meeting on a somber note, but there was a very unfortunate incident in Burlington within the past week, I think, wherein there was an infant found in a vehicle in hot weather conditions, and I believe it was a fatality. I'm just wondering if we as a service are involved with community partners or on our own initiative with regard to a communication to the public that this kind of stuff can happen. I mean, that was pretty dramatic, and there should be no question with regard to what the potentials are given the recent past. But and to me, it's sort of like getting out in front of people with regard to common sense. But given that oftentimes, tragically, common sense isn't too common, are we involved as a service with a community partner, or do we have our own initiative to sort of bring this before the public, given that it's that time of year? Thank you.
So through you, Mr. Chair, we have been quite active on social media with regards to getting the message out. You know, it's a very unfortunate set of circumstances, and it's unfortunate that we really even have to have these discussions. But as you mentioned, common sense is not all that common. But through our corporate communications unit, we will continue to get that message out, and we are, you know, obviously hopeful that there's no similar type of occurrences that happen here in Niagara, but we will continue to do what we can to prevent such tragedies from occurring.
Any other new business from any other members? Chief.
Thank you. I thought it would be appropriate, given the circumstances. Jamie Saunders, who is at the back of the room, this is his last official day and probably his last official function with the Niagara Regional Police Service, recording the meeting this morning. Jamie's had a 35-year distinguished career. He's quite affectionately become known as the Voice, and is really synonymous with policing, both locally here in Niagara, but right throughout the province and indeed right across the country. So I'd be remiss if I didn't make mention of Jamie and his last day and the immense contributions that he has made to police training right across this country. So thank you, Jamie, for your years of service.
He's still back there? Jamie, thank you again. I made some comments at your retirement as to back at 68 Church Street and the original video unit that started out with some of those black and white slides that I used to create in the dark room, and I think we ran that for about maybe a month or two, and then we moved into something a little bit more technological. And I think we've both gone through the, and Jamie, it shows the hair loss is the movement to Adobe products. And we've had that conversation. So years well served, and certainly very much appreciative of having an opportunity to work for you in my previous life in the service, and good luck in retirement. So with those notes, unless there's anything else, we are adjourned in the public session. We'll take a break for about 15 minutes and then start into the confidential one.